rate a main focus of its monetary policy. Now, monetary policy is concerned with, the management of interest rate, and total money supply in circulation, and is generally carried out by central banks such as the Fed. Fiscal policy is concerned with taxes and spending of the federal government. What exactly is the federal funds rate? The federal funds rate, such as your Chase or Wells Fargo, charge one another for overnight funds that they loan. If the Fed wants to lower the federal funds rate, they would expansionary policy, which is used to combat recession. On the other hand, if they wanted to raise the federal funds rate, they would sell bonds. And that is part of the contractionary policy. So assume that open market operation of buying bonds is equal to $10 million. And the reserve requirement is 0.5. How much is the max, the 10 million times the reserve requirement of 0.5, and that will give you $5 million. And that 5 million, there will be 5 million that go into required reserves, which is RR, and excess reserves, which is ER. But that is only if you're making one loan of 5 million. If you want to know the maximum amount of loans, you would take the 5 million from required reserves, which is the money that can be loaned out, times 1 over 0.5, which is the monetary multiplier, and that will give you $10 million. Which is the total max amount that can be loaned out. So, some vocab that you might need to know is, what is a reserve requirement? And that is the percent of money that must stay in the bank after making a checkable or demand deposit. So what is a checkable deposit? That is an amount of money placed into a bank by a customer. And this money, because of the reserve requirement, is divided between required reserves, which must stay in the bank and can be used at convenience by the customer, or it can be placed into what is called excess reserves, or ER, which does not stay in the bank, or does not need to stay in the bank, and can be used to make loans, which in turn is where the bank gets its profit from. So the money supply is altered by whether or not loans are made. So if more loans are made than the money supply will increase. This will in turn reduce the nominal interest rate if the Fed does decide to buy bonds. And if this should cause inflation, then the real rates will fall, because the Fed buying bonds reduces nominal rates and inflation further reduces real rates.